if you have something written out, maybe it'd be good if you could just email it or whatever, and then I can get a copy to everybody. And, you know, I think all towns are tentative the 1st of June, but I don't think anybody's gonna make a decision until the last week of May on that. So, I have another call with the mayors on Thursday.
Are you, I know that the leagues have been canceled, but are you guys looking at trying to still do maybe an unofficial league?
Basically, at the end of the day, our two biggest hopes with a third pipe dream out there that we're not gonna worry about. The first one is basically just to have an organized practice. Get a group of 8 to 12 kids and 1 or 2 coaches on a field, playing, having fun. And if that goes well and there's no interruptions and we see a downward trajectory and all signs that people feel good about it, then we would look at just inter-age Tri-Valley on Tri-Valley scrimmages. That'd be level 2. So if we're able to just have a month and a half, 2 months of, you know, this practice group meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays at this time and no one else is at the park, then that's what it is, and great, at least we all got to do something. If we're able to do that, and then also in July sometime have a couple of game nights where, you know, either that practice group's a team, or we just have 20 kids show up and we separate sides, odds and evens. So that's kind of what we're looking to shoot for.
I think there's definitely parents out there, there's kids out there that are interested in doing that. I visited with some people that
Yep.
want to do that.
No, our thought process is we probably lose at least a third, if not half, of the kids that, but then again, it's a free program, so who cares? Well, everyone come that's willing and wants to play. And we're not going out of town with it, we're not going anywhere else with it, it's just gonna be in our little neck of the woods, so.
Well, as far as softball, I know that they have not canceled as of yet. I know they're pushing things back, and a lot of it is gonna depend on what Sioux Falls says here in about, I think about 3 weeks here, 28th or 29th, something like that. But I know that they have potentially said that they would start a season as late as July 1st.
Yep.
And they've already pushed their state tournament back to August 8th through the 10th, I think it was. So
It is.
they'd be looking at like a 4 to 5 week season at the most. Unfortunately for softball, most of the tournaments have already been canceled that were around. I know Vermillion, I think, just canceled one last weekend, and we're just, I mean, don't get me wrong, I want to see kids out of the park. And I'd love nothing better to be standing on the third base line coaching, but, you know, we've got to see how everything breaks down in the next few weeks, and if those numbers go back down like they were a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I could see us definitely opening up again. If they stay in the hundreds that Sioux Falls gets every day, I shouldn't say hundreds, I should say 100 or so, I can't see us opening anything, unfortunately. But it's one of those things that I said earlier, it's a fluid situation, and
We're looking at it from regards in terms of, let's say we get to do this for the first week in June, and then all of a sudden there's a spike, and there's uncomfortable, you know, attitudes from parents or from the city or from anywhere else. For us to shut it down for a week or 2 weeks, it's not a problem at all. If there's no, like I said, since it's something we're just trying to help organize but not charge for, we feel no problem, you know, if we walk away from it, because we tried. We're doing our best, so.
well, and I went through earlier some of the things that we were looking at as far as rules that they had to go by, and they're pretty strict as far as equipment and spacing and everything else. And I see it's gonna be pretty difficult for them to keep going, but in the back of my head, I'm still hopeful that we can get something going. And hopefully you guys can get some kids together at some point in time too, and
Yeah, we're looking at using the same parameters that the Park and Rec Board in Madison put on the opening up of their fields for their practice teams. And I mean, it's about 12 different things, and it's a lot of spraying, a lot of cleaning, and a lot of keeping parents away from the park while the kids are there, shutting down dugouts, setting up, you know, basically stations along the fence line, 6 feet apart. So this is the bag 1, bag 2, bag 3, kid 4. And, you know, that's part of the reason We sent out an email last week just kind of saying that we're kind of going this direction, but we're not doing it for the youngest of ages, which kills all of us to say that, but the more we put it in there trying to figure out, how do you keep 6-year-olds socially distant? How do you keep a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old? At what level are we able to maintain that and feel comfortable with it? And at what point do we have to have more parents brought in, which means less players? So, I mean, we're trying to be as thoughtful as we can about it, knowing that nothing's perfect, but
I have 12 and 13 and 11, 12 and 13-year-olds, and they want to be right next to each other too. So it's, I mean, it's a battle we got to fight. And my concern is that we don't lose a lot of those kids going forward because they didn't potentially get to play this year.
Yep.
Well, we'll keep in touch and I'll keep council members in touch as we talk each week, but that is the main topic
Sure.
of all mayors, so. It's just, everybody wants to have the same rules or the same, so when you go to another town, you don't have to wonder what's going on here, so. All right,
Butch, I got one other
Okay.
thing for maybe, just random item. New Hope Days, were we doing something like that this year?
Community Days, or Crooks Community Days is what it's called now. No. I guess that's been kind of put on social media, that's probably a good point. So Crooks Community Days was originally scheduled for May 29th, 30th, and 31st. And based on recommendations from both Governor No's executive order that was still in place and the CDC, it's just, I mean, it's definitely promoting large gatherings. I mean, at this time, we don't want to commit to just saying it's canceled. We're hopeful that we could pick another weekend later this summer when we don't have these restrictions. But it's so fluid right now, you don't even dare say that. You know, I'd like to pick a weekend now and say, we'll have it July so-and-so, but,
Yeah.
So,
Is
yeah.
there any direction on rummage sales?
I haven't heard
I haven't heard
anything.
a thing.
No.
I mean, I know, you know, Sioux Falls had their major rummage sale postponed, oh, I can't think of what it's called. Kingswood. But I don't know, I guess I haven't heard rummage specific.
Because I didn't know if we were encouraging or discouraging that type of thing around the city.
I think we're probably not going to, you know, in part, the city I mean, we didn't manage, but it was during community
It
days.
happened during the same time.
Yeah, have it during the same time, I mean, if people wanted to do rummage sales on their own, I don't know that we could really, but we're not
The
gonna
city-
organize it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the city wouldn't be able to regulate it. at all.
Right, correct, but it's not gonna be something that we're going to be organizing that weekend. Basically, we won't have any organized functions going on that weekend.
Anything else?
Yes. You have been putting lots of pictures on Facebook about the coloring of sidewalks
Oh,
and driveways and everything else. I know we had talked the other day about a donation that Corduroy and Pixie Dust, along with, I want to get this girl's name right, sorry, I gotta pull it up. Ellie Joy, she's the Little Miss Ambassador for South Dakota, cute little girl. They have donated, I think we have 50 cartons, about this size of sidewalk chalk, which I'll bring down to Toby so that if anybody wants to come down and
I thought the office was closed.
No,
by
we'll-
appointment.
We'll put it in a
We'll put
box.
it here.
Well, yeah, we can,
Just one piece of chalk at a time.
One ration it, please.
I'll bring those down tomorrow so that you've got those available if anybody wants to.
yeah,
have
we
some.
can just set it outside the door each day or
Yeah.
Tobias.
Take off the cash.
So, but, yeah, I think we got 3 or 4 boxes here that we bought, so we can put it all together. All right, we have to authorize Jana as a signatory on our bank account and take Randy Kringen off. So we need a motion.
Yep, just a moment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. The second reading of ordinance 259, and that's the supplemental appropriation ordinance for $15,000 And then, you wanna explain it to them?
That's just for the Palmyra parking lot, that's the remainder amount, so,
So do we need,
yeah, I need a motion.
okay, is there a motion to?
So moved.
And then all ordinances have to be approved by roll call vote, I guess.
Oh, roll call. Okay.
Second.
We got a second? Any other discussion on it? Okay, would you like to take a roll call vote?
Any.
Aye.
Mars.
Aye.
Richards.
Aye.
Fire. Aye. All aye.
And we have a second reading of ordinance number 260, an amendment to the Crooks zoning ordinance of the storage. And that's what Janet explained.
Yeah, the main thing is just moving it out of central business, is that right, Joyce?
Yeah.
Central
light
business.
Industrial, and then also it imposes a conditional use requirement on this, so you can't just put them up
You
anywhere.
can't just put them up, so
So
you
we
can only.
can't have something like.
So it moves it out of central business, it moves it to light industrial, heavy industrial, and you have to have a conditional permit, so you have to go through the process to provide plans, provide everything. You can't just put
And
it up.
also sightly, or, the other part too.
And then, yeah, and then architectural design standards, so it's, you know.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried.
Oh, you have to do a roll call.
Oh,
Kenny.
Aye.
Mars.
Aye.
Richards.
Aye.
Fire. Aye.
okay, first reading of ordinance number 261, an ordinance to rezone certain property in Crooks. And that, 261 is part of the Allentown parcel where the house burnt down. And that, I just have to read it, right?
Yep, just have to read the title.
Okay, and then the next one is the first reading of ordinance number 262, which is the other part of the property. It's under two different parcels. And, again, that's where the house burned down, or we burned the house down.
And just so you guys know, our future plan there is once it's rezoned, then we're gonna replat it to make it one lot. Make it a lot more.
Okay, the last one is a resolution 2020-0502, resolution regulating the Crooks Community Center use.
So, this is the big one. We're finally doing this. We've cleaned it up. We've gotten rid of our three-tiered structure down to 2 tiers. It's 200 or 450. We've increased, added the key deposit. What else have we added? Higher bar maintenance fee. I want to say old wine and new bottles, but we've just beefed it up. It's just needed for an update. So.
We simplified it by having two levels. It's either small or large. A higher deposit.
Yep, now higher fees, rental fees. It's still cheap, but it was just, when we have a $75 event, we're losing money on the event. So Butch said, yeah, let's, and I agree with him. I was like, let's just, $200 it is, and you still get it the whole day. It's still less than $10 an hour for a rental. It's just needed at this point, and the reason I think one of the main drivers for just true, and if you see the rental agreement too, people have to check, oh, this is being recorded, I forgot. People will have to check prior to the event how many people will attend. Otherwise, you don't get those changes as they put their name on the line, and it goes from 101 to 100, and suddenly, you know, the deposit drops. It's just,
And I think something else, if we're gonna bring it back up next meeting, if we should open or not. I suggested if we do, then there should be an extra fee for sanitizing. because I don't think we can rely on different groups to do, I think we have to do it so we know it's done. But we can discuss it a month from now, so think about that.
Maybe I'll have a chance to read through the resolution. It's not urgent, but
It's not, wasn't that my?
not even.
No,
No,
You want to go around copies really quick, or you guys just want to table them for another one? We're not gonna have any rentals in May.
Yeah, we don't have any.
I moved the table till
Okay.
June meeting.
Okay.
second.
And at the end here, I'd just like to say, we're the start of another year. I still haven't gone through a meeting without making a mistake on something. I'm not sure that'll change, but
You've gotten a lot better.
I just really appreciate everybody's working for the betterment of Crooks. There's no, I can't tell you enough, I just, thank you, all